congratulations on the birth of your son.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Thank you.
I didn't get to congratulate you on video.
Oh yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
How's it going? What's it been like?
Um, well, you remember we have a 21-year-old and a 20-year-old, so
Really? I forgot.
We're reliving things.
Wait, so the second eldest child after the recent one is 20?
Yeah, we have a 21-year-old, my son, a 20-year-old, my daughter, and then Anakin, who was just born 2.5 weeks ago.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. So there's a huge gap.
Yes, huge gap.
So this is a major life undertaking. It's going to change your whole lifestyle.
Oh yeah. I mean, I do the same thing. I mean, I'm at home. I don't sleep. It's the same thing over and over.
You don't sleep anyway.
Yeah, but like, no, it's definitely, changes the dimension of things, but I'm fine with that.
Do the babies really have to eat every 2 hours when they're first born?
He eats. Oh man, it's not even every 2 hours. I mean, sometimes he's eating every 20 minutes.
Oh, seriously?
I mean, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, for some reason dude, it was crazy. My other kids were born 7.5 pounds, like 19 inches. And then he was born 8.7, over 20 inches. So we were shocked, how much bigger he was, but who knows?
He wasn't just like fatter. He was bigger, also taller.
Yeah, dude, he is so strong. Okay, this is the psycho thing. The doctor said it. At the hospital, he lifted up his head. I'm not joking, because I'm not one of those people that like lie about their kids. Like, he lifted up his head and held his neck up. They're like, wow, that's not normal. And it alarmed me. And I go, what? Because I'm looking at the nurse, because she was doing his weighing. And she goes, usually he was just born, like him holding up his head. That is not normal. Then we had a doctor's appointment yesterday for a checkup. She put him on his stomach, and he pushed off of his arms with his head and then rolled over. And she goes, wow. She goes, that is insane. She goes, has he done this at home? And we're like, yeah, a little bit, because, when we, burp him, on his stomach, he'll push off of his arm, almost like a close grip push up. Wow. and try to push over. And she's like, that is insane. She's like, and I told her about what happened at the hospital, how he was already lifting up his head when he was born. And she said, wow. She goes, that's extremely rare. And of course I'm OCD and I get alarmed instantly. And she's like, no, that's good. It's just, he's extremely strong.
Yeah. It might have, I assume it means that he has like great neurological signaling from birth, which is a very good sign,
Yeah. Or maybe all my growth hormone abuse.
No, I don't think that's what it was, but there are some studies, for example, I haven't experimented this myself, by the way, just to be clear to the audience, but because it's too risky. But there are studies on like ghrelin levels in pregnant women. So if ghrelin levels go higher, the babies tend to be born bigger. I'm not saying this is what happened in your case, but for example, MK677 is a ghrelin agonist. So there's so many different, in fact, you know what's interesting, Blue? Growth hormone has like several varieties of it, depending on which genes are encoded. All of the varieties except one are all placental growth hormones. Like, growth hormone is so specialized for the placenta and for the baby growing. So there's so many factors involved, which are interesting, but I doubt it's your own growth hormone use, obviously. But for the audience, I just wanted to show something for a second. Let me try to share my screen here. I was just so impressed, and I wanted to give Blue sent me some pictures that he had drawn. Let's start with this one. Is this Lee Priest, by the way?
Yeah. He actually has that.
So this is incredible. I mean, look at the forearm detail. That reminds me so much of Todd McFarlane from the late 80s when I used to read his comic books. The level of detail is just unbelievable. By the way, Blue, I don't know if you know this. There's a guy called Vincent De Souza, I think, who draws some of the bodybuilders. I've hired him to draw some things for me before, and he's drawn Lee Priest, but nothing like this. This is just such... Maybe people who are not so into comics won't realize the level of art and beauty. This is Wolverine, of course. But I mean, the line work is just incredible, Blue. You have the gift that I always wish I had when I was a kid. I would have been a cartoonist myself if I could have. I mean, and this is the Spawn, of course. Blue was potentially going to draw for the Spawn comic before. I don't know if everyone... Oh, I'm having issues zooming in, but you can see this. But Blue, can I ask you something? When you drew the cape here, were you inspired by the way McFarlane drew the cape? Because it's so unusual, you know?
Well, it's just because the cape is, you know, is a live like organism. So, you know, the cape can move any direction, you know, and it gives the character motion. Even when a character's standing, you know, solid in strength, it just gives animation, you know, to the picture.
I mean, this picture is beautiful, but for the audience to know, it's not just like art. You know, when you're a kid down on his luck and not enjoying his life, when you read comic books, it can be a place to, you know, live a different fantasy life where you're not weak, where you're not being, you know, bullied or whatever, or a dream of what you could be one day, you know, protect the weak. And comic books have a lot of, I think, great values in them that's shared under the subtext, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much in comic books. It's pretty crazy because a lot of the stories that these guys get, you know, from Greek mythology, I mean, there wouldn't be Thor. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, there's so many values that are intertwined in these stories. It's pretty amazing.
That's really true. Which ones were your favorite comics personally when you were younger?
I loved Spider-Man. I mean, that's how I got into it because I was always drawing ever since I was a little kid. Like we have my sketchbooks. I had a sketchbook when I was 3 years old. We have my sketchbooks. I still have them all the way from 3 years old, all the way to present. And it wasn't because I was drawing realistic things like my dad, because my dad was an artist for Hewlett Packard, and you know his mom was a famous painter and all that stuff. And so I was drawing realistic things. I could look at things and stuff like that. But what got me is there was a kid at school that had a comic book. And I was like, what is this? And boom, man, I was bit because I was like, what is this? It's so fantastic where you can just capture a moment of action or whatever, you know, the lighting, everything was so dramatic, the perspectives. And so I was bit right there. And I think I started, you know, looking at everything, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Hulk, all that stuff. But then in middle school, you know, I started looking at Todd McFarlane stuff. And then that's when it got real serious when I, you know, and then it was over at that point. I was hooked.
What year was that approximately when you were in middle school and you?
I graduated in 96. So it would have been, because I remember first looking at it, I believe I was in 8th grade and so it would have been like 91.
Oh, so that's when he was really at his peak popularity.
Yes. Yeah. Because I saw the Torment. You remember that was his line. It was Torment, you know, when he launched his own Spider-Man line. Before that, he was working on the Amazing Spider-Man. And so I went crazy because, you know, I was just, you know, I have that obsessive compulsive, you know, nature to me. So I wanted to know everything exactly, you know, who this dude was, you know, how he was drawing, his anatomy and all that stuff. So it just clicked.
No, for me, when I was in 7th or 8th grade, I was also drawing a lot and I was trying to be the best in my school. I was like in the top 3 of my grade, but there was a buddy of mine, actually a French guy, who was he was better than me. We were always doodling in class and we would draw similar things and I was pretty good, but he was always a little bit better. And so I got discouraged at some point. I was like, this guy's more talented. If he spends more time, he's going to be better than me. So there's no point for me to do this. So I just gave it up completely. But I think I should have probably had more belief in myself. Anyway.
No, it's an amazing thing, man. Pick up the pencil. Seriously, it's an amazing thing. You know, I catch myself doodling every now and then. I mean, nothing crazy. But I catch myself, you know, little things, you know, and I still... You know, when I'm on my phone all the time, when I cruise online and look at stuff, it's not bodybuilding. I mean, of course, like literature and stuff, but visuals, I'm not really looking up like 90s bodybuilding. I'm looking up Frank Frazetta. You know, I'm looking at paintings and pencilers and sculptors. Like I can look at that forever and I get caught up.
So we have to tell the audience why Bostin isn't here yet. It's a funny story. So Bostin is currently very high on MDMA. I don't know what the details are. Blue doesn't know either. We're gonna find out with you guys when he joins. But since he's high, he's gonna be a little bit late. Blue, I thought I would start with a couple of questions that I was gonna ask you both. But I wanted to ask you, who was the greatest single influence on your coaching, your knowledge, and your bodybuilding of maybe coaches or whoever else you dealt with?
Coaching, absolutely Hany Rambod. Just because he did everything individually based, there was nothing cookie cutter, very personal type of communication. He treated me fantastic. We clicked right off the bat. Certain things, and because myself being OCD and stuff like that, I wanted to kind of take that to another level of being, that was my dream, when I got into this deeply. The coaching side of things was basically being that ultimate coach of never having to hesitate anything. There's no awkwardness. I'm basically in everybody's pocket, all of my clients around the world. It doesn't matter if the question's about green beans or if it's about something, much more complex. All they have to do is pull out their phone and text me. That's what I dreamed of, how I wanted it,
No, but I mean, I don't know what that sound is, but I mean, in terms of knowledge, who did you learn the most from?
Honestly, probably doctors that I've worked with and trained. I mean, because on the medical side of things, absolutely. Because, we would do certain trades and stuff like that with training. I remember I had one guy send me, like a lot of his studies and stuff like that, books. I mean, of course, trial and error and, just getting deep into, the quote, bro science. But honestly, I would have to say, when things really picked up is when I started learning the medical side of things, because a lot of the stuff in the beginning is bro science because you're part of the lifestyle. But then when you start to look at, the interior of things, how things are structured, and it's almost like drawing. You look at something, you want to you want to create that. You're just looking at the exterior. But then you have to learn about the structure of it, what it is actually made of, how it works in different settings. So it's a lot of like that in many ways.
I think when you say bro science, we should specify that there were two kinds of things that people coming up in bodybuilding could have access to. One is what we tend to call bro science, which is really experience, empirical data. And, people learn things over time, which is very valuable. But the second one, and that you can't replace with studies, because we see things in real life, they're the most applicable. But the other side of it is the recycled information, stuff that Duchenne said a long time ago and somebody else said, and then they repeated it and it reached you. And a lot of these things were unfounded. So I think some of that part is the things we can most expand upon with reading studies and things like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I was trying to learn, in the beginning, it was damn. I mean, it was like, the steroid Bible. I mean, I was reading anything I could get my hands on. I was asking any questions. I've never been a prideful person, especially with knowledge. You have to put yourself in a position of, I know nothing. I need to learn much more and understand much more. And something that might be, understandable and relatable at that moment might change down the road, especially when people's chemistry changes and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's just so many variables, but I put myself in that position of learn. You don't know anything yet.
Don't you notice that if you present an image to clients of knowing, knowing everything, being certain, having dogma, which many coaches have this kind of attitude. I don't want to name any, but many of them have that kind of attitude of, these are the rules, follow this is the way. And they're always very confident when responding to clients. On the other hand, if you're being honest, sometimes you get a question, you think about it, you say, I don't know exactly what's going on. We could diagnose it, trying a few different things. Or you may say, I don't know how this biological thing works. I got to go research a bit. But do you find when you're dealing with clients, do you ever feel tempted, like not tempted, but do you find it difficult to ever say, I don't know? I mean, I do this a lot, but I find every time I do it, the client, not every time, but I think a few clients are like, oh, he doesn't know. Other people know everything I ask them. But they don't know everything you ask them. They just say they know,
Yeah. I mean, every great while, I mean, most of the stuff is, I don't want to say simple, but it's very general. And it's the type of situations that come along I'm used to dealing with 24 hours a day. But every now and then, because some of my doctor, guys that I train, give me referrals. And so, I've dealt with people with a lot of conditions. So there's certain things that have arise where it's like, oh shit, okay, let me step back and let me look at some things here. That has happened a couple of times, but I don't mind it because I'm going to learn as much as I can about that situation and that person to help them. And it's always a blessing in disguise, I've noticed, because when I'm learning something extensive about one person, down the road, if something comes along again, I can say, oh, I kind of ran across that situation before. So it helps. So even if this one person takes a lot of time, it's worth it because it's going to end up giving you some valuable information that's going to help somebody else, and it's going to be easier for you next time.
I personal belief. I don't know why every time I talk it echoes over with you, but anyway, I have a personal belief that if you have an educator that doesn't say I don't know every so often when you're asking them questions, you should be suspicious.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's certain things that come up where you're going to say, okay, hold on, let me look at this.
Let me get back to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But another thing I want to ask, so you're mentioning being OCD and wanting to turn it up a notch when you became a coach and bring it up to the higher level. Do you ever get, this happens to me a lot, do you ever get frustrated with clients who are not that interested, for example, in minimizing health outcomes, so will not go out of their way, for example, to buy a blood pressure medication, even though you may mention that they may need one, or for example, even more advanced stuff, like for example, I love people to use Dexcoms. It's so hard to convince people to use Dexcom. I convince 1 out of every 10 people I talk to will go along with it. So I don't know who's joined. I don't know if it's Boston or it's a call. Hey, Blue, I think we have our first caller in.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, do you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
Well, I think Blue needs to lead the conversation.
So, like you made a post about, we wanted to open the invitation to people that have had, horrible experiences with certain coaches, and it goes on nonstop. 99% of these guys are complete frauds. And it was an outpouring of people that would like to share their stories. And so, each time, we it's kind of like Loveline, but with fake coaches. And so this way, the person's going to remain anonymous. He's not my client. I don't know this guy. He's going to share his story with a particular coach and shed some light on, what happens behind the scenes. We hear about these things, but now we can actually hear it from the actual person, victim, if you will. But yeah, go ahead and share your story, man. Leave your name out of it and just tell us exactly your experience. What happened?
Yeah, so been training bodybuilding for a while and decided I'd like to do my first show. So I didn't have any clue of who to get and ended up coming across Dave Palumbo's site and emailed him. And he obviously got back to me, paid him. And right off the bat, he forced me to buy all his products up front or he wouldn't pretty much deal with me. So I ended up buying all his products. And then and about a week or so later, he ended up sending me over a diet plan. And at the time, I was probably roughly 16, 17 weeks out to the first show. And the first diet he sent over was pretty much, it was 7 whole eggs with 50 grams of carbs in the morning and 1 cup of egg whites. My second meal was a shake with some 50 carbs of his product. Next meal, 8 ounces of turkey, again with 50 carbs, potatoes. And then he wanted another pre-workout shake with carbs, another post-workout shake with carbs. And then right before bed, he wanted me to go to McDonald's every night and get 2 double quarter pounders with cheese, a large fry, and Diet Coke. And then he put me on 2,000 mgs of SIP and 500 Tren. So right off the bat, I mean, so then I emailed him and I was like, hey, I'm new to the game, but, do you realize I'm about 16 weeks out? This sounds more like an off-season diet. And no reply. So a week later, I did what he told. I sent all my info with my first round of photos. And think it was about 5 days later, he finally got back. And he's like, yep, everything looks good. We'll keep things the same. So I'm like, okay. I did it again for another week. And then finally I sent him another email. I got so sick. It was 2 days I couldn't even get out of bed. Just felt like I had the flu. The McDonald's was giving me the shits. I ended up missing 2 days of work. And I emailed him saying, hey, something's wrong. I don't feel good. What's going on? Never heard back from him. Finally, about 5 days again, he says, hey, send me some photos. So I sent him some photos, didn't hear back from him. And then he's like, I can tell you're not doing your pre and your post-workout shake. You're definitely not following the plan, like I said. And I said, hey, I'm following pretty much, everything you've said. I feel like shit. Can we try something different? Didn't hear back from him for a while. So then my work schedule's kind of fucked. Some days I work nights, days, midnights. And I said, hey, how do I go about eating if I'm working overnights, or, how do I schedule my diet, around my workout plan? And never responded. And that was pretty much the last I ever heard from him. He never got back to me, and I emailed him probably 3 or 4 times, and that was it. And I never did my show.
Wow. Well, I have a couple of questions. The first one is,
Yep.
Does he usually have set a phone? Is there levels of the coaching? Did you buy like a cheaper level or something like that?
No, I bought his most expensive package.
And does that package usually contain, like, because you mentioned a lot of emails, do you guys communicate through phone calls also?
Nope. No email only.
So there's no phone calls?
Nope.
Oh, so all the communication was through email?
Yes.
And it was 2,000 milligrams of testosterone?
Yes, of SIP.
And then just test. Interesting. Well, that's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
Blue, should we let him go and we'll comment on it on the call after?
Yeah, man. I remember you saying you're on the East Coast or something. So I know it's like,
yeah, I'm in New England area. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, buddy. Boston stays awake late at night. We always film at this time, which is one of the reasons I'm not as entertaining, because I'm really sleepy every time.
Yeah. Get some sleep. We're going to comment on this. I appreciate you sharing your story, and, good luck on your bodybuilding journey. I hope you're still lifting, and just like I tell all you guys, do your research. These names, it's all a scam. It's all a scam. You got to really look up and research these guys and check out what's really going on. Go to their Instagram, check out their resume. That's where it's at.
Sounds good. Appreciate
we'll let you
it.
go for now. All right. We'll let you get our response.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Boston.
Who do we have on?
Oh, we just had the first call complaining about coaching. So
Did somebody was it a blank screen?
Yeah, it was a blank screen.
Who was it about?
It was about Dave.
Wow, what did he say?
Wait, how are you feeling? First of all, tell us how
I'm high as fuck, dude.
Did you do the ass thing with the Molly?
No, I wanted to, but it was from Uber Treats, because he told me this is how to dose it. He said to lick my finger and put it in the bag, and then lick it again. So I did 2 of them, got super high.
Look at Boston's eyes. Look at Boston's eyes.
I got super fucking horny, right? And I started pre-cumming everywhere. But my dick was soft, dude.
That's the worst shit.
So I was pre-cumming with a fucking shriveled ass dick. And then she was finally able to get me hard. But it still wasn't a good hard on, dude. It was horrible. It was like a 4-inch floppy dick. And then I tried fucking her and I just couldn't come. So I was like, we just got to stop.
Oh my God. That's the worst stuff.
And then right now, dude, she just tried for the first time 1 cc of Uber's GHB, because I don't know if you guys know, but her dad passed away. Okay.
Oh, he passed?
And yeah, he passed.
Oh, I'm
very
so sorry
sad
to hear, brother. I'm so sorry.
And she's been having really vivid dreams about him, like him coming and like glowing, and so it's been kind of cool. So I told her that'll help with her dreams. It'll definitely help with her dreams. I think the GHB.
Usually it'll inhibit dreams actually because it
makes me dream like crazy.
Does it really? Actually, it depends. There are some studies that show it doesn't inhibit REM sleep, but on me, for example, it does. But that's one CC.
I have the craziest dreams that I remember on it.
This is a fun night. I'm very jealous of you guys, to be honest. Nobody invited me. Nobody said anything to me. At least I could have.
We're trying to have kids and I can't come. It's not good. So I told her after. No, I told her. I said, after this podcast is over, I'm going to wake you up and just slide it in.
No, it's true, bro. That's the most frustrating thing when you get high on that type of stuff, dopaminergic stuff, and you're horny, but your dick is not listening to you.
So horny, but you can't connect.
It's not connected. It's working on its own. You're trying to keep it like not hard and get it in despite it, but it doesn't work very
well. I love looking at her. I was like, get naked for me, and I was staring at her, and I was horny, but I couldn't do anything about it.
All right, this is good stuff. This podcast will be fun. So, Bostin, to update you, basically we had the first call-in, and this gentleman told us about his experience with Dave Palumbo. I have to mention, though, for the audience to know, guys, every coach is going to have somebody that, I'm not saying this guy is, but there's going to have somebody that thinks badly of them. Every company will. You always have those guys that rate you 1 rating. They're usually people that are angry at you or something like that. So I just want to mention, in case we keep doing this series, keep in mind, take everything with a grain of salt. We don't know these guys ourselves. It might not be true. Although this does sound like everything we hear about Dave. So this one doesn't sound like it's not true.
I've gotten so many emails, man. I don't know. Blue, I think I told Blue. I've gotten so many emails from people that enjoyed our last podcast talking about coaches because they were working with some people we're talking about and they thought it was normal to get treated like that. And I'm Blue. Did you get the same emails?
I got so many emails. It was insane. Dudes, because now with us starting to say the names, instead of just saying fake coach, for years, now stating the names, people are starting to feel more comfortable to come out and say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to say who it was. I'm going to talk about when I went to the hospital. I'm going to talk about this. It's I think it's good. And it's enlightening to see these people start to speak up.
I had so many people message me from Jansen, Palumbo, and they thought that was normal, a normal coach relationship to not hear from your coach from a week or getting short. Dave responds quick, but he's short. And I'm like, no, like a coaching relationship, your coach should want you to succeed just as much as you want to succeed. Like they should be involved. They should care. And nobody's really getting that except, I know, I'll say this. I'm really good with my clients and stuff like that. And I take amazing care of them. But Blue is on another level. He'll call people for free and talk to them for hours on the phone. And I know you're like one of the most involved because you truly love this, but dude, it's sad how many, and you don't even charge that much. And then you guys got people charging triple of what Blue charges. And they allow them, like Matt Jansen, you're only allowed to email him once a week. And then his wife will probably respond to you. So, I mean, it's just out. And I know everyone gets Blue's number and stuff like that. And if my clients want my number, I have a text add-on. But
yeah, you have that cheap text add-on where they can text you anytime.
Yeah, so I do emails every day. But if somebody wants faster responses, they can always add it on.
Yeah, what I was surprised by is that basically the guy who called in was said that he signed up with Palumbo. He was 17 weeks out from a competition. He never had a coach before. And basically he got a diet. He just told us the diet. And the diet was a bit heavy on carbs, I think. Blue, was that what he was saying?
He was eating McDonald's every night.
Well, he was eating McDonald's at night, that too, yeah.
I guess he just getting fatter, trying to talk to Palumbo, no response. I've heard so many of these. This is just, like you said, take everything with a grain of salt, but there's certain coaches out there.
Yeah, there's a lot about Palumbo like that.
Thousands of people that have experienced these things of no communication, getting ghosted right before the show like this gentleman was. I mean, like, they're paying so much money and putting so much trust into this person just to get burnt.
Check this out. So there's this chick named Sarah. She was one of my friend's ex-girlfriends. And she had crazy genetics. She was a pro material, but she just never had the right guidance. So she was asking me about coaches, and I said, I'll get you hooked up with Dave, because this is when I knew Dave got people in shape and stuff. So I got her connected with Dave. And she was like, Bostin, will you just like take me on? Because she was like, he doesn't care about me. Like he'll give me 1-word responses. All he does is up to T3. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, you need to follow the plan and go with whatever he has you to do. So anyways, 2 days out from her show, she completely loses contact with him. Dave won't respond to her. She doesn't hear from him. She's freaking out. So she contacts me, and I had to take over, and she ended up turning pro. She won the Masters North Americans in women's physique. And she was like, hey, Bostin, do you mind if I post that you're the reason that I turned pro and that you helped me? I was like, no, don't do that. I said, congratulate Dave. But she wouldn't even post Dave because all he did the whole prep was raise her T3 weight, raise her clem. The diet stayed the same. And he had her doing like 3 hours of cardio, and which is fine. She got in shape. But literally right before her show, she couldn't get a hold of him. So women, dude, they freak out. Yeah. So I said, calm down. This is what you're going to do. I helped her, and she ended up going pro, and she won.
The thing is, that's what this guy was saying about Dave, is that he could only communicate with him through email, but Dave wasn't responding to him for like days, and then he would respond, and it seemed like he didn't pay attention to the details of the,
He doesn't look at pictures either.
So in my case, like I actually sometimes don't respond for 3 days or 2 days, but I have every week, I don't coach bodybuilders obviously, but every week I have a 1 hour call with each of the clients. I only have 6 clients. So I have an hour call each time. So I know I can catch up with everything during that hour, Otherwise, if I didn't have that, I would be responding daily. You know what I mean? But I also like, to be honest with you, if you have clients and you care about them, I don't know, obviously in this case, Dave didn't know the guy, but for example, I have a client who's going through a breakup and he has some difficulties. So like we speak on the phone like 3 days a week, sometimes 40 minutes, sometimes 50 minutes each time, just to, to be there for him. So I think it's different when some people are coaching. How many people do you think Dave coaches?
Oh, way too much. Over 100.
Oh, is that what? So
way too much.
I haven't taken on any new clients because every time I take one on, it's so much responsibility for me mentally that it's very difficult. Like I have a 30-person wait list.
The thing is Blue. I know Blue probably has over 100, but the difference between Blue and Dave is Dave runs a podcast, and it seems like his podcast and his RX muscle is more important to him than his clients.
Yeah, so I train over 280 people right now, over 27 different countries. And I talk to almost everybody, almost every single person.
Well, that's why you don't sleep.
That's why
I don't sleep. Oh, so that's another call.
Yeah, we have another call on. So Blue, maybe you want to talk to the fella? We don't want to say his name.
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't say your name. Obviously, you were chosen as one of the guys that emailed us about sharing your story. Don't say anything about your name. Just tell us basically kind of what happened. What's your coaching story?
Well, it's about the horrible coaching. I got a horrible coach for you, Matt Jansen.
Oh, wow.
This piece, yeah. He took me for about $2,800. I signed up for online coaching for 16 weeks. Gave him $2,000. 2 weeks took me 2 weeks to get my plan from him, and then when I got that, he wanted another $800 to give to another guy for gear and shit.
Oh, God.
And once I did that, no more. I didn't hear from him. I tried to get back with him, and just disappeared on me. I'm new to bodybuilding and all that, and I was super excited, and he was nice at first, but then he's just a real piece of work. Took my money and just want to let other people know that he's a piece of crap.
Did he never responded to you?
Wow.
How long did he respond for?
He responded for about the first month. He responded. About 3 weeks after he got my money, I had to give some more money to somebody else. Once I got in contact with that person, that was it. It was over. Once I sent that money, disappeared, both of them.
Wow.
I tried to get a hold of him. And he just wouldn't respond to me no more after that. After I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how none of this online coaching worked. So
did you ask for your money back?
I'm new to it, huh?
Did you ask for your money back?
Yeah, there's no response. I got no response from him.
Oh, whoa, that's unacceptable.
That's crazy. I haven't heard from him. It's been about 7 months.
Wow.
And once I told him that, hey, your buddy never got back to me. He took me for my money. I never heard that. That was it.
That's unbelievable. Well, thank you for sharing your story. We'll discuss it now, and you'll hear our discussion on the podcast, brother. Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I have a question before we talk about anything else with Matt Jansen. I wanted to ask you guys. I tried to ask you this, Boston, over text, but we didn't get into enough detail of conversation. Why are Matt Jansen's clients? Why do the top ones start looking alike? Like we know, it's clear Dallas looks like Nick.
He loves GH.
Yeah, but that 12 unit thing you tell me, I don't buy it. That's not 12 units. They look different than everybody else.
Nah, dude, it's 12 units of pharma because, you know, Matt has that pharmacy connect. So 12 I use a pharmaceutical grade growth hormone every day for a long period of time. Ask Blue, how 12 I use a pharma, that's a fuckload, right?
When I did the 16 I use a day, and that was for like 10 weeks, I literally mutated, and that was during prep. I literally grew every day. My low carbs day was 500. My middle day was 800, and my high day was 1250. And on that 1250 day, I was doing 8 pounds of yams a day. It was nothing.
Blue,
and I just kept getting bigger and leaner.
What do you hear about what separates Matt Jansen's style of coaching in terms of nutrition and drugs compared to other people?
I've seen his plans. I've gotten so many people that have fired him and have hired me. There isn't anything unique. He has a unique, genetically inclined few people. Those are the guys that he shows off. If you go to his Instagram, you're going to see just chops, all talk. He's going to show you Sean Clarita and Nick Walker, and that's it. Stevie Wonder could train those dudes.
Exactly.
And then the other people, like the guy who just called, the other people, he's not going to show. Every now and then you'll see somebody that he just trained and he won't show them and they just look horrible. And then they have Camp Jensen on the bottom of their thing. He doesn't want to show that. There's nothing unique. He has 3 clients, you know, that are really good that anybody could train. The rest of his people, there is nothing, or he'd be showing them. That's a lot of these guys.
Leo, my friend works with him. And I think Matt knows that he's a friend of mine. So he obviously responds. This guy's a well-known coach, a very well-known coach. And he's looked way better before. I know what he's doing now, and it's crap. Like, Jansen is really not a good coach. Like, I'm just telling you now. He has a couple genetic freaks that he literally loads them on pharmaceutical grade drugs because he has a connect with it.
That's what I'm. But the only thing I'm thinking is he's using 20 to 30 units, not 12. That's all I'm thinking.
I can't tell you for guys like Nick Walker, but I could tell you that he only has my friend on like 4 to 6 units of. I mean, I use it for long.
But do you guys hear that?
So for the most part, these coaches out there, for the most part, they're telling people to take anywhere from 4 to 8 units of GH. Chad Nichols, and anywhere from 6 to 8. Most of the pros that I've seen Chad train are only on 6 units in the middle of the night. Wow. So Matt is different. Matt is like a 10 to 12 unit guy of GH. But that's what I'm saying. But for the other guys, like my buddy that's getting trained by him, and my buddy's a well-known coach, but he's looked way better in the past. Jansen hasn't done a good job with him at all. I've seen his program. I'm not impressed. The drugs are normal, but it's the guys like Clarita, it's the guys like Nick Walker that he pushes, because I posted one of Nick's cycles when he first got in the bodybuilding world. He was training a top amateur at the time who he could have been pro, this guy. And this guy went and he showed me the cycle that Matt had him on. I literally fainted. I posted it and people shit their brains. So this is when Matt was trying to get his name out. He got a hold of a guy that had amazing genetics, and the guy could have turned pro. He still holds a lot of money, but the guy could never come in shape. Matt sent him the cycle. I saw it from his email. Mm-hmm. I sent it to one of Matt's buddies. He didn't believe it. He's like, that's not from Matt. I'm like, dude, here's the email. That's from Matt's email. Dude, the cycle was crazy. It was like 3 grams of long ester test, another 1,000 milligrams of suspension, 100 mgs of D-ball, 100 mgs of anadrol, 2 grams of EQ, and like a gram of Deca.
And the GH was the same 12 there, or was it?
GH was like 10 to 12, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's more juicy. That's what I was.
Dude, 100 D-ball and 100 anadrol. That's nuts.
Well, on that topic, can we brief? Oh, wait, go ahead, Blue.
I was going to say, I think I know the dude you're talking about that's working with them now. He's a bikini coach, right?
That's working with him now?
Yeah, your buddy. He's a bikini
coach. Tyler.
So, wait, can we comment on this oral issue? Because Boston, since last week,
his girlfriend, he trains a lot of people, but I kind of got on his case a little bit because, well, I didn't really express it to him, but he knows that I feel this way. he pays Dave to help him. And he's paid other coaches to help him coach his athletes, which I don't know. I don't really agree with, but I think Leo thinks that's okay, right?
To pay another coach to coach?
I don't know that guy that well. I've talked to him a couple times. He seems like a really nice guy. He seems like he's really nice.
No, he's nice and his clients do well, but when he gets stuck on stuff, he'll ask me questions or he'll ask Dave. He pays Dave to prep people.
Oh, really? That's a poor choice of person, I think. But wait, so about Matt Jansen, does he have a lot of these complaints? People not paying, not responding?
All the fucking time, dude.
That's unbelievable because
hold on. I'm gonna let you guys talk a little bit about this, and I'm gonna tell you the worst story I have ever heard. Ariella was with me when this guy was on the phone with me. It's from Nick Trigilli's client. It tops all these stories.
About Nick or about Matt?
About Nick.
Oh, yeah. Nick is, I know a lot of stories. Yeah.
Dude, it's the worst.
But wait, so about Matt, so what I wanted to ask is, are there a lot of people? Because when I heard the story from him, I was thinking the only way this could happen is if Matt has so many clients, he literally forgot about the guy and doesn't know. Because why wouldn't you repay him?
Like his wife will do his emails and shit.
Yeah, that's hectic. I mean, if I have any complaint, I refund the person.
His wife probably does my friend's emails too. I was like, are you sure you're even talking to Matt? He has no idea.
That's funny. But about the orals that he was using on that cycle that you described. So,
and remember, this was in 2015 when he was trying to get his name out. So he was treating everyone that had potential. He was treating like Dallas McCarver.
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah, that's the real cycle of the top guys.
Of course, and that's the shit that like Nick's running and his top guys are Sean running. But then obviously when nobody hires him, they're hiring, just like Blue said, they're hiring him because of Sean Clarita. They're hiring him because of, and I just did an article for Muscle Sports Mag. I just wrote it, and it's about hiring a coach. Like when you hire a coach, the number one thing is don't just hire a coach because you look up to one of their athletes. That's the number one thing. Because if you're like, oh, I look up to this person or let me use their coach, it's not going to be the same for you. And that's the biggest mistake that people get is they look at these guys and they hire Matt because they think they have some secret formula. And dude, they don't. That's not a real coach. Like Blue is a real coach. I'm a real coach. Nelson Jones is a real coach. We actually care about that, like our clients and shit. Like he doesn't give a fuck about that. So you're basically paying for his pro athletes because I know another pro that's working with Matt. And he hasn't even competed as a pro. He's a cop. And Matt's doing his program for free, absolutely free. So I think he trains his guys for free. So he's using them for marketing and then ass raping everyone else.
And then, of course, you don't want to use high doses on people that don't have great opportunity because something could go wrong. You don't want to expose yourself. So you use different doses. But listen, last week you mentioned this program you sent me, who the writer of will remain anonymous. But you mentioned the Superdrol 100 milligram dose. I didn't realize it was Superdrol.
Damn.
And so,
dude, I knew you didn't see the program when I told you that shit.
So first of all, I never used Superdrol before, but obviously I've read about it and everything. So I was like, when I reread it later, I was like 100 milligrams a day, and it's split up also, I think, during the day. But anyway, so I read that, and I was like, listen, I need to try. I was going to make a video about Superdrol. I'd never tried it before. I was like, I need to try it. So the next day, I follow your instruction. I take 10 milligrams of Superdrol.
Where, from Braun? From Braun?
Yeah, from Braun. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's strong.
Give a shout out to Braun. Yeah, that's it. That's the shout out to Braun from Boston's Forum. He's one of my favorite guys. Really trustworthy. Anyway, so from Braun. So this is Superdrol tablet. So I take 10 milligrams. I go to the gym an hour later, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not that strong. It's way less than 50 milligrams of Anadrol for me, and I don't really notice much. And I go back home. I don't know what I'm doing. Later, like an hour and a half later, I'm probably eating something, and suddenly I feel a pain in my abdomen. I'm like, motherfucker.
That shit fucking destroys your stomach.
Are you kidding? No. It's the liver. I know where the liver is exactly. I feel a pain in the liver. I'm like, motherfucker, 10 milligrams. This is the worst oral steroid I've ever taken. I've never taken anything that hurts your liver.
Hey, and you wonder why, I'm not going to say his name, but you wonder why his clients have known to be, you know what I'm saying, the same shit that I'm having now. You know now why.
I wonder, yeah. And he's always been high on Anadrol and Dianabol and stuff like that.
Well, see, dude, 100 mg of Anadrol is not even close to 100 mg of Superdrol.
Because that's 10 milligrams.
It's like equivalent to taking 500 mg of Anadrol.
That's what I was thinking, because I took that 10 milligrams. I was like, what the hell? I've never felt a pain in my liver. I was like, no, I'm never taking this again. But I can't even make a video about it because I don't really know what the feeling of it is, because I only took it once and I can't do it again now. But I might try the injectable to figure it out, because I want to know what the feeling is exactly. So we have a guy calling in now, but he's just connecting to the audio. Let's see if he gets connected. Unfortunately, we're going to have
This is a great idea, Blue. Thank you for this.
Dude, I can't even count how many people blew me up about this. And we're like, bro, I want to tell you this. I want to tell you this. And I was telling him, I go, man, you don't have to tell who you are. I said, just it's Loveline, but fake coaches. I said, you can say whatever you want. Just, we want, truth. Just tell. And they're like, well, can I say this? Can I cuss? I was like, dude, just say whatever you want. Just say whatever you want. I was like, on this podcast, I picked 3 people. Just 3 people.
Well, and these guys are probably people that have hired you after, right? And they're like, oh my God, this is what real coaching is like.
All 3 of these guys, I don't even work with.
No,
I don't even work with them.
Wow.
The first guy was with Palumbo, because he messaged me and he goes, I was, he destroyed me with McDonald's. And I said, tell me your story. And then I got the one with Matt Jansen that popped out and was like, yeah, I got jacked for this amount, blah, blah, blah. He sent me to his gear source and blah. And I just picked out different dudes. I have so many people lined up to literally say everything. One guy sent me a video of him walking on stage and could barely walk. He was like the Tin Man because of all the diuretics.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. These people
I know, dude. Ever since we did that video about fake coaches, I get emails. Fucking people are just, they thought that shit was normal. They thought that's what coaching a coaching relationship was. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? 1 response a week? You pay $400 a month to get 1 email a week and that's it? I'm like, are you kidding me? And that's what Jansen does. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's crazy. It takes 10 seconds to respond to somebody through text. I mean, it doesn't take that long.
All right, so we got another call coming in.
Yeah, I don't know if he's.
Awesome.
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hey, bud. Welcome to the podcast. Keep your name out of it. Tell us your story, and feel free to go into as much detail as you'd like.
All right. So a few years ago, I hired Dave to be my coach, and I brought 5, 6 guys along with me. And 3 months go by and we were sitting in the gym bullshitting, and every single one of our diets were exactly the same. I got a guy 150 pounds. I got guys 340. I got guys 220. Every diet's the same. So
okay, that's proof. Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, we laughed at that, but I got a little more serious deal going on. So I'm not going to say I didn't do well. I did well, but then we went to off season and I did my blood work, and my glucose was around 82, 84 every day of the week. So I got with his protocol, and all of a sudden my blood sugar fasted in the mornings, 120, 126, 125. And his answer to me is take insulin. What the fuck? I don't want to live on insulin. So,
yeah, that's Dave.
And then he disappeared. I got no help, just kind of wing it, I guess. So I hired somebody else, and we're making some changes here, but really pisses me off that so many guys in this industry just don't give a fuck about anyone's health, especially him. It's about pay me and fucking see you later.
Did you guys all have the same cycles too?
Everything was the same.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I had a kid just
Am I allowed to swear?
I had a kid just hired me, and he just worked with Dave on his first cycle. Dave had him on 1.5 grams a test, 600 deca on his first cycle.
Wow. Crazy.
350 mgs a test every other day, 200 mgs deca every other day, 200 mgs, 300 mgs, 200 mgs EQ every other day, and 1 milligram of Arimidex every other day. And that's for a guy on a first cycle.
You know what's funny?
Now,
how much testing you had on?
Well, it varied. Pre-comp, I was on 1,000, and then off season we went to 1,500.
Yeah, see, he'll never know. But even if a kid hires him at 18 years old, it's always a gram of test or more. He'll never start someone off on 500 mgs. It's always, that's what I can't stand. Like, I've had so many kids that are just like their first protocol and they're already on 1.5 grams of test.
Yeah, there's no.
Oh shit, this is Boston, isn't it? Hey man.
What up, man?
Oh, you can't see us, huh?
No, I don't know what the hell's going on. No, it's just giving me a number.
So the last thing I want to ask you is what are the approaches that you're taking right now to deal with your insulin resistance or high blood sugars in the morning?
Well, yeah. So I'm eating all my carbs in the first 3 meals of the day, and my last 3 meals of the day I'm not having any carbs, and I'm taking 1,000 milligrams of metformin before bed. And my blood sugar's down into it's been 78, it's been in the 80s, it's been 92. I've had a couple days where it spiked to 103 and 105, and my coach assured me that everybody's sugar 7 days, 1 or 2 days will spike. It's not a big deal. That's
not a worry at all, man. I was going to ask you, so you were saying that you're doing the insulin, so are you off all insulin now?
Yeah, I'm off. Well, sure. I take that back. I take 10 IUs of Lantus first thing in the morning.
And then you're saying you're taking 1,000 mgs of fast release or sustained release metformin?
It's the I'm not even sure. I'd have to look at it. I don't even know what I'm taking.
Yeah.
If you're taking the fast stuff, I very advise you to switch over to the sustained release.
Yeah, or take the fast
in the morning. I got the sustained released.
Yeah, because if you took 1,000 and you didn't eat and you weren't eating like 200 carbs, you would probably have some stomach indigestion. So I'm pretty sure if you're fine with 1,000, that it's probably the sustained.
By the way,
I got this straight from. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was saying I got this from one of the doctors that I do blood work with and everything else to make sure that trying to get everything ironed back down. But another thing I want to say too that a lot of people don't realize. So, I've seen Blue on Instagram. I followed him. I've seen Bostin, and stuff like that. And I know a lot of the other coaches out there as well. A lot of them are useless. It's on a bowl. Dave's protocol to getting ready for a show. Are you looking good? Up your T3, up your clen,
up your cardio.
5 more minutes of cardio.
Up your cardio.
That's what Bostin just said before you came on.
Hey, this is not a joke. I look good at the Contra Costa. I did look good. The diet didn't change once. The diet didn't change once. And this is the biggest red flag, guys, with a coach. When they send you your whole pre-contest cycle all at once.
Yes, I agree. 100%. That is scary.
Yeah.
So he has your week 16 through 8, and then your week 8 into the show. If you ever have a coach that sends you the whole pre-contest cycle at once and he's a cookie cutter like that, fuck that. Everyone responds differently to drugs.
Yeah,
you cannot do that. You cannot be like, this is what you're running 100%. Now, if people hire me for a guideline and I'm saying, this is your guideline, but check in every 2 weeks because this may change.
Well, what's funny is guys that want to compete, when they go to a show or whatever and they compete and they do poorly or whatever, and everyone says, man, who's your coach? And they go, I don't have one. Well, the first thing they do is start researching coaches if they're serious. Well, who comes up? Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto, Matt Jansen, a bunch of these clowns that come up that aren't worth a shit. And, I'm sorry, I don't want to T3 and cleanse my body to death for 8 weeks to do a goddamn show. And, I've seen other coaches.
T3 and cleanse get?
Jesus. Oh my God. I was taking, on an insulin unit needle, a syringe without the needle, 0.75. So I was all the way up to 75 IUs.
75 micrograms of T3?
That was 4 times a day.
Of clen?
Of clen, you mean?
Yes. Well, no. I would do the clen and the T3 4 times a day. Morning, before workout, after workout, and at night.
Wait, hold on. But how much T3 though? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're measuring by liquid, but you don't remember the milligrams, do you?
Oh, I don't remember the milligrams. I mean, every friggin' day it was up at 5 or 10.
Well, see, this is the problem with that. Is that's why you should never have your prep clients use liquid, Leo, because there's mistakes like this where they fuck it up. It sounds like he was taking like 500 mcgs of T3 the way he just explained it, right?
I don't think it's possible you would have died.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? So when my clients hire me and they're insistent on using a cheap liquid, I say, you better send me a photo of what you're pulling out to, because this is make or break. This could fuck your life. This could fuck your health up. But I always have my guys use pharmaceutical tabs.
Here's the thing, Boston. He's one of the biggest advocates of this. So ain't that Shelby Dirtbag Starnes?
Oh, he's the worst.
Don't even get me started on that motherfucker. That guy's got a license to fucking murder people, and no one's done anything about it. And then he doesn't care once he does kill people.
I already told people in the last podcast, Leo, do you know how many people from muscular development reached out that are high up that said, Boston, thank you so much for coming out with that. He said, everyone's thinking it, but nobody's called him out. They were so thankful for that.
I had no idea about Shelby. I saw him in an interview, and I messaged Boston one day. I was like, who's this guy? Boston's like, this guy kills people.
Yeah, he don't care, and then he moves on to the next client.
That's crazy.
Literally, he'll kill someone or put someone in the hospital, and then he just discards it, doesn't say anything about it, and then just starts posting more chicks. And like, his chicks are impressive because, hey, if you have a chick fucking on a bunch of anti-estrogens, a bunch of diuretics for a month, and you fucking load them up on Tren, Masteron, Primo, they're gonna look fucking good. So, but he completely destroys these chicks. Most of them have to put wigs on after the show. It's just fucked up.
Yeah, he and in the fact that he ain't ever held accountable for this. I mean, what does the IFBB give you a license to kill people if you're a trainer?
I'm surprised nobody's called him out but me. But everyone likes to everyone knows he's killed multiple people. And it's not just like, it's literally they do a show and they die right after.
My God, incredible.
Yeah, there's a number of people that I remember did a show, went out to have a meal or whatever, went back to the hotel room, dead as a doornail.
Yep, their heart stopped.
I think he's a complete disaster, and he should be banned from training anybody.
I completely agree.
And Dave's no different. Dave runs enough T3 into people that they're gonna fuck up their thyroid.
Well, no, I don't know if you know, but Dave used to train Shelby.
No way.
Oh yeah, I knew.
Yes.
That, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're both crazy high T3. I remember I was using liquid T3 for one of my preps, which I should have never done. And like I said,
Boston.
Yeah.
Boston, back to what you said about liquids versus, pills and stuff like that. The problem with this is you get a trainer like Shelby or Dave or whoever that says, oh, just go to a pepside and get this, get that, get this. They don't even know how to fucking prescribe it.
Yeah.
I really think truly Dave does, but he doesn't give a fuck enough to tell you how to do it.
That's exactly. And I always make sure my clients send me a picture of what if they use the liquid, they better send me a picture before they ever take their first dose. I make sure of that. And also, but first of all, I just send them to clearskypharmacy.biz or alldaychemist.com. So if you guys are listening to that, those two sites have pharmaceutical T3 and Clen, and you guys could get that shit with an e-check or whatever. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to come in, so plan ahead. But when you're dealing with MCGs, guys, micrograms, not milligrams, you need to be 100% accurate. Do not risk it.
Yeah, you could kill yourself very easily because the thyroid beta receptors or the thyroid alpha receptor is involved in the heart, and T3 is not specific, so it'll raise your heart rate directly. And that's how thyroid...
I'm going to lie to you. I asked, didn't get much of an answer, and I kind of winged it. I went on my phone or the computer, and I said, okay, how many micrograms do I need to be at this point? And every app was a different number, and I was like, well, shit, I'm going to try this and see what happens. And that's the problem in this sport. We're all willing to try it, and trying it could kill you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for calling in, brother. We really appreciate it. We're going to continue discussing this in the call, and you'll hear it when the podcast comes out.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure to speak to you. So that's another Palumbo one. What do you guys think about that one?
Sounds like Dave, man. Like I said, I just had a kid.
Sound like Dave, doesn't it? That was so precise.
Kid's first cycle is on a gram and a half a test, 350 tests every other day, 200 DECA every other day, 200 EQ every other day, and a Arimidex into like 4 or 5 IUs of growth. The growth wasn't much. And get this, he has this guy on Lantus morning and night. First fucking dude, his first cycle. This kid's and this kid's fat.
Interesting. Why do they start with Lantus? By the way, I want to make something clear. So taking insulin when you're taking growth hormone doesn't solve the problem. What happens when you take growth hormone is basically growth hormone signals downstream at the same things that insulin signals at downstream. So those downstream things have a negative feedback for the insulin receptor. When you take growth hormone acutely, your insulin receptor numbers decline. Your insulin receptors withdraw. And there's other things. There's so many other things that happen. Taking more insulin doesn't solve it. I mean, obviously, you can brute force and keep trying, but that's the quickest way to become insulin resistant long term. And you'll especially get a belly. You can't just brute force with the, I mean, you can, I guess, but it's gonna have, that's why everyone ends up with small limbs and big bellies at the end when they really try to grow a lot. You know, you guys notice that? That's the insulin resistance later. But let's do a couple of questions before we finish. So Fats, Carbs, and Protein says, what are your thoughts on Trained by JP stating your first cycle should be 250 milligrams of test, second 300 milligrams, third 400 milligrams, and fourth 500 milligrams? He said it's best to get the most out of the least, but this just seems awfully slow to me. What's you guys' opinion?
Well, I don't think he practices what he preaches because I know.
No, yeah, I know that.
But the problem with this JP guy is, by the way, he's been super nice with me. He connected me with his web guy who ended up helping me with a problem. He's always been super nice to me, but I think everyone's super nice to me. For instance, I have many people that are high up in the industry that always email me asking me how my health is, which it feels good knowing that these people are doing that, but a lot of them are like scammers and like con artists. So I think they're like, no, I'm serious. And I think a lot of them, and I'm like, even Matt Jansen messaged me like, I hope you're doing well or whatever. I think they want to kiss up to me because they know I'll call them out and they want to just be nice with me, right? And yeah. I get that vibe. They're not truly sincere about it. They just want to kiss up to me. But what was I getting at again?
Yeah, about JP, Trained by JP, the dosages.
JP. Yeah, so I've gotten so many emails too about this guy that he just one response, short response. I guess his wife does a lot of his programs and that he's not involved at all. But then obviously he has his top pros like Jamie Johal that he's, great with. So they call him the Matt Jansen of the UK.
Oh, really? Well, he's known. I've heard a lot about his forum. He's known to be like really rude to people on the forum.
He's the most successful. He's probably the most successful. Him and John Meadows are probably the most successful people in the bodybuilding world, besides probably Blue. Blue has more clients, but that JP guy makes so much on his forum that he's probably the number one guy.
But I thought this was a good question because last week we had this question about 250 milligrams a cycle review, and the guy was taking 250 for his first cycle with barely anything else. And me and you were talking about where did this 250 thing come in? Well, we got a lot of comments on that clip. So, and then Derek came and commented also. So somebody, apparently there's a lot of people that recommend that. One of them is Broderick Chavez. Another one is, there's Broderick Chavez and there's Victor. I don't know about Victor, but there's a bunch of people. Oh, JP is one of them. And then there's Steve, our buddy, and Derek. So I wanted to clarify. Derek responded to one of the guys because one of the guys was like, well, Derek is one of the guys that recommends this, and there's good reason. It's so that you get the most out of the least, which is absolutely true. Makes sense. Derek responded and said, I don't recommend it for everybody. It depends on different people. I wanted to comment on this. What Bostin and I were saying, well, Bostin was saying something different than me. Bostin was saying, why go on cycle from being natural to take 250 milligrams and then go off cycle after? You're just hurting your reproductive organs, your ability to synthesize steroids, and you're doing it for a low potential gain, is what Boston was saying. I'm saying something even further. Why do that? Why cycle and why not use HCG? So if you're not cycling, of course, start with the lowest dose. And you can increase that dose every few weeks when you notice tachyphylaxis or it's not working for you anymore. That way you have the least harm for the your least effective dose.
Look at all my natural supplements, Leo.
Wow, a lot of supplements.
Trying to get healthy over here.
But so the point is basically, my issue was just this. There's no problem with a 250 milligram cycle as long as you used HCG. So it didn't put you in backwards.
There we go. If you cruise on 250, take HCG, 500 IU 3 times a week. Like, do that. It'll make your physique so much better too. I don't understand why people just run testosterone. It's like, what the fuck? Like 250 tests, dude. This is the thing, Leo. If somebody has 400 test levels naturally, low, 300, 400, and they take 250 tests, yes, they're going to get amazing results because it's going to bring their levels up to like 1,000, 1,500, right?
But once they go off cycle, those results are going to go away.
Exactly. But if you're an athlete and your testosterone is already 900, 800, like a lot of athletes, and you take 250, it's absolutely pointless because you would just get a couple hundred points.
That's what Derek was saying too. So we're all in agreement. We're just saying if you're going to use 250, don't I don't know what the word is, but don't shoot yourself in the foot. Take your HCG with it. And later, that way you don't have to go off very quickly. You're using a low dose. You can check your biomarkers. You can decide I want to use something more and get more out of it.
Yeah. I'm convinced that HCG is better for fat loss than growth hormone sometimes.
Seriously,
I'm not saying that it's great. When I'm doing my high fertility protocol, which is 5,000 IU every other day, that shit is like I'm on a cycle.
It's wonderful, isn't it? It feels great. When you take 5,000 or 2,500 to 5,000 every other day, at that dose, 250 milligrams of test would do nothing for you. It would do nothing. It's probably the same feeling as being on 250, unless you have issues with your gonads.
HGH is a long-term fat burning thing. It doesn't happen immediately. Like Blue is doing the IV shit and like morphing. Yes, I agree with that. But if you're taking a normal 2 to 4 IUs of growth hormone sub-Q, you're not going to burn a ton of fat right away. No. But HCG works immediately.
That's fascinating. I never heard of that idea before. Okay, guys. So another question.
This is why I know this, Leo. I've had clients cruise without HCG, and I've had clients cruise without HCG because they couldn't pick it up or couldn't afford it. It's a night and day difference how they can continue to improve while using HCG.
Fantastic. This is great confirmation.
Bostin, I want to hear the story about Nick.
Oh,
you forgot the story about Nick.
Ariella I told Ariella this. I was like, oh my fucking God. This guy hired me. His name is David. Okay. Very well off. And you could tell he just wants to throw money at you and he has a lot of money and he was talking to me on the phone. I did a phone consult with him. He ended up hiring me. Trigilli knew he had money somehow. And guess how much Trigilli said he's going to charge him for the year. And this guy paid it.
How much?
He obviously told Trigilli he had money. He didn't care about the price. He really looked up to Trigilli. $12,000, Leo.
Oh wow! He followed the decision.
Gave it to him, but this is the worst. He gets a generic plan the next day, and he's like, "Dude, like this is so much food." And he's like, "I've never eaten this much in my life." It was like pounds and pounds of meat. And he's like, "Can we make some adjustments?" Trigilli's like, "No, you need to eat this food." Like, then after that, he started giving him one-word responses. And then after that, he completely ghosted.
No, so I can confirm that's true. Yeah.
This is the worst part of the story. He doesn't hear from Nick ever, stops getting response. 10 months go by, and Nick goes, "Hey, man, are you going to renew with me? If you pay up front, I'll lower it to so-and-so or something." The guy was like, "Are you fucking?" And I'm like, "Dude, and everyone when they hire Nick, and I'm like, dude, I said, and they're like, they're scared to ever have another coach again. That's and I'm true. Like, don't let your bad experience with a con artist ruin it for coaching because there is good coaches out there. I'll tell them about Blue. I'll tell them about Nelson Jones. I'll tell them about Dominic Cardone. I'll tell them about Chris Tuttle. I'll tell them about Trey Hodge. I will tell you where good coaches are and people who care about you. But I will also tell you that you need to stay away from these fucking people because Nick makes coaches look bad. What he does with
let me confirm.
He makes them buy fake drugs.
Wait, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a funny story, Bostin. Wait, before you say anything else, I've never told you this story. So I actually have a friend who hired Nick years ago. Okay. And I knew about it at the time. That's the reason why I was originally so suspicious of Nick when he asked to come on my show. But then he said he became sober. I noticed the changes in him and stuff like that. And I want to give him a second chance because I'm an ex-addict myself, you know. But I had heard this thing in detail from my friend when it happened. So I thought Nick was just the worst coach on earth. So what had happened was this. Basically, my friend hired Nick. And I think it was like $300 or something like that for a month. And it was renewing. Something like that. It's cheap, right? And he's supposed to communicate with him through, I guess, text.
$500 a month is cheap. Oh, 300.
300. So so Nick sent him a training schedule. First, he sent him a Q&A, like a question to fill out. My friend specifically mentioned that he had an injury in one body part. So Nick sends back a training schedule with that body part exercised normally. And my friend in his intake form was like, I can't use this body part at all. Please don't include this I don't know how to work around it. He ignored it. And then also he sent him like a random diet. And then he set him up with the same situation with the drug guy, which I don't know. I don't want to get into too much detail, but it was fake stuff. And it was, I'm pretty sure through Nick somehow. It's like if he's funny. Anyway, the long story short, the friend didn't hear from him, tried to text him, didn't hear from him for 3 months. 3 months later, he canceled his membership. When he canceled it, Nick called him and tried to convince him to renew it, and then yelled at him on the phone and shut the phone on him. This is a true story. This is from a personal friend of mine. I just never mentioned it before.
Nick has lost all of his credit card processors. I remember when he hit me up when he thought we were still cool. He's like, hey, man, I lost all my processors. Like, he was like, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you're losing them because people are reporting you for fraud. Like, no, that's what they are. You know, like, he would literally take people's money for stuff. Hey, Leo, he would take people's money for steroids and not even ship. So, guys who's listening to this, no, Nick makes Dave Palumbo look like a fucking saint. I'm serious.
That's true. Yeah.
He makes Jansen look like a saint too.
Yeah.
Now I'm telling you now, if Trigilli ever goes broke again, guys, and he starts coaching people, do not hire him. You will fucking throw your money down the waste and you will lose all your money. So if anyone, because he's going to go broke again and he's going to get addicted to whatever, and he's going to go try to scam people again. And I'm sick of I gave him the benefit of the doubt, Leo, because you were his friend, and I stayed quiet about this so long. But he is the fucking worst. He actually steals from people, and Blue could admit that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I save everything. I have documented things where people have sent me actual screen captures. I mean, being absolutely robbed, with buying gear from him. I mean, like I touched bases on it, the other podcast. He hired a online hacker to hack another coach that he was mad at to shut down his website.
Palumbo? Was it for Palumbo?
No, it was for a different guy.
Okay.
No, for Phil Viz.
Bostin loves to name drop. He's like, he'll say the full name every time.
Yeah, which is just insane. Like, you don't do things like that. That's not normal. But yeah, I mean, the dude is he's out there.
But that's honestly, like, to give him benefit of I don't know, honestly. I actually asked when I stopped talking to Nick a long time ago. I asked one of his best friends, like, because I didn't know if he was back to using drugs. I didn't know if it was the drugs that's making him do what he's doing or if it's him. And I asked his best friend, is he a good guy at heart? And he's like, I don't think so, honestly. I can't say so. So that's when I gave up on the guy. But before that, I mean, I just want to point out
that good friend of his, or was good friend, Blue, actually really likes him.
Yeah, I'll tell you who he is later. But the point is, so it's still, though, in defense of him, the reason why he's probably a league above all the other bad coaches is because of the drug stuff. I mean, it's hectic. Like, he called my friend screaming at him. Like, he hadn't responded to my friend for 3 months. He was yelling at him at the end of the phone call, like trying to bully him.
What drugs are we talking about, Leo? Because, dude, I'm on drugs now. I never steal from someone.
No, I mean opiates. They start to do weird. If you're addicted to drugs, it's a little different. But what I was going to say is Amin has charged $30,000 before for a year, more than Doucette. So, and that was
Amin sent me a text trying to apologize, and I just didn't respond.
Oh, because he went on a podcast and started talking about me and telling lies about me, like proper lies. Like, he said that, I don't want to get into the details.
He must have been high, but dude, you're not on Facebook. But he went crazy. People were just digging into him. He ended up deleting his comment the next morning, dude. Then he tried to text me apologizing. I just didn't even respond. But dude,
he's a nice guy at heart, but he does evil things because of the drugs.
He had to be high, dude. The way he was talking, he had to be high.
No, he is high every day. Yeah, absolutely. It is. But anyway, this was a pretty crazy episode. I didn't intend to spend so long on the coach thing, but we did a pretty dude, I don't even know how I'm going to make clips of this.
Leo, this is the best. You got to just drop this clip. This clip is going to be the fucking best.
It's a very honest one. I think we should continue the series. Every time Blue comes on, we continue this fake coach series.
Okay, but now that I know, every time somebody emails me, I'm gonna be like, hey, like, I'll send you a free Synthol bottle if you come and talk about your story.
Bro, Boston, you know what happened to me today? Remember we had that question about people coming up to you in the gym? So nobody, obviously, I'm an unknown person. Today,
you're blowing up. You're blowing up. You're going to get the rest of it, dude.
That was weird. Yeah. So today I went to the gym and I was, doing a little shoulder workout. Came back. I was doing like these, the padded shoulder side thing. I'm sitting there and the thing is, in between sets, I get really out of breath. So I'm like out of breath. I can't focus. Suddenly I like stand up and I see some like Middle Eastern guy approaching me. So because he's Middle Eastern, I thought, and he's smiling at me. He's like, oh yeah. So I thought, oh, I must know this guy from Dubai or something. So I looked at, and he came up close. I'm like, I don't know this guy. And then he's like, hey, are you Leo? I was like, oh my God, this is so random. I was like, you watch the YouTube channel? Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I watch it.
Our shit's blowing up, dude. Like you're getting more views than Dave now. Dave has, I already did the math. Dave has like 250,000 subscribers. You don't have nearly as many subscribers because you haven't been doing this long, but your views are more than his channel now.
Our podcast gets more views for the channel's subscriber count than even FOD's does. FOD's is 5 times bigger than ours, or 6 times bigger the channel. No, more than that. I don't know how big it is, but the podcast is only 4 times bigger.
Yours is gonna, dude. You're gonna not even be able to get workouts in. If you live in California, people are gonna bug you like, oh, "Are you Leo?" And they're gonna try to pick your brain in the gym.
No, but this guy was such a nice guy. I feel actually I wanted to give him.
Usually very nice.
I know. I was so exhausted though between the sets. I couldn't talk much. I wasn't rude, but I couldn't talk that much, and I was so surprised. I was like, "What's going on here?" I was like, "You watch the YouTube?" I was like, "But I have never seen an Afghani comment." He's like, "No, I don't comment, but I've been watching you since before you moved to Irvine, and when you were in LA, and I knew you were moving here." I was like, "What the hell?" So apparently there are people that watch the channel for a year straight. They never comment, but they're supporters.
Yeah, there's so many people that don't comment.
That's so interesting.
By the way, your wife needs to make me another a YouTube so I can comment.
Okay, she will. She's the electronics expert between us.
She has to make a fake email though.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do that. All right, Bostin. Listen, Bostin Blue. I'll let you guys go. I know Bostin, you've got to get up to some business, and Blue, we'll talk on message.
Yeah.
By the way, Bostin, wish Blue congratulations for his son.
Of course, I already did. We talked about it already. I'm so happy.
Fantastic. All right, Blue. We'll leave you to the young boy, which should make you a young man again now, since you have a young boy. You should feel 20 years younger.
Yeah, I hope so.
You ever get to sleep?
But yeah. Thank you guys for having me on again. I appreciate it. I really value this show. This is the only show I personally listen to. It's rare because it's such good information for viewers out there. And the reason that it's picking up, so many more viewers is because you guys both are real, genuine people, and people can sense that when they're watching this, So I wish nothing but the best for you guys.
Well, you're part of the reoccurring segment of the show, so we're all together on this one.
I want to show you guys my beautiful wife.
I know. I seen Ariella there on the side, but she... Hey, Ariella. All right, we'll leave it at that, guys. Talk to you.